Hello and welcome to this short introduction of big data. For the next few minutes, I will try to answer the following questions. How big is big data? Most of us are aware that big data corresponds to a huge amount of data, but how huge it is? Next, we would go on to discuss the types of big data. And lastly, I will try to give you some objective parameters to help you understand when does your traditional data transition into big data. So let's start with how big is big data? The most common notion around this topic is that any large data set can be considered as big data. However, very important to understand in the beginning itself is that the complexity of big data isn't just about its size. There are so many other factors that make big data the thing that it is today. These factors or characteristics are called 4 V's of big data. Amongst these 4 V's, the first one is volume. And when you say volume, it isn't just about its current size, but also the rate at which it is growing. Secondly, variety. That is, from how many heterogeneous sources or distributed systems are you collecting this data from? Thirdly, velocity, which is the rate at which data is coming in. As an example, there could be billions of transactional data being recorded in a second. And lastly, veracity, which refers to the unreliability of data. If your data is from a source that you don't trust, business insights won't be of much value either. So if you have termed your data as big, make sure that it is scoring well in all these 4 parameters. Next is the types of big data. It can be classified into 3 basic areas. Structured data refers to the data sets that follow a predefined schema and can perfectly fit into our relational databases. That kind of data is simplest to manage and then of course is the easiest one to analyze too. You could think of an Excel sheet that contains information about employees of a company as an example of structured data. Unstructured data, like the name implies, doesn't follow a fixed format, and neither do they fit in our mainstream relational databases. As an example, all the character and binary data generated from our social media tools is extremely unstructured. It's a big challenge to manage and analyze such kind of data. Semi-structured data is a mix of both types. It does follow a fixed format, but still very difficult to analyze as compared to completely structured datasets. You could think of XML files that are generated from some of the software solutions as an example of semi-structured data. Now, as for the last topic of today, I would like to leave you with some objective parameters that can help you identify big data. Let's have a look at some of these key points. The first there is about the rate of generation of data. If your data is generated at an extremely rapid rate, say billions of transactions per second, this could already be a hint towards moving in the direction of big data. Whereas traditional data expands on a per day or per hour basis. Secondly, big data is mostly unstructured or at best semi-structured. It is very difficult to analyze such data. Whereas traditional data is structured and hence our conventional database management tools are able to manage that data. Big data is mostly coming from complex, heterogeneous, and distributed systems, whereas traditional data can be picked up from only one centralized source. Since big data is not in a form that can fit into structured tabular format, therefore you hear about this huge thing going around NoSQL and Hadoop systems. Whereas structured data can live inside relational databases. Our traditional data could change anytime. For example, bank account information or phone number, etc. Therefore, you need multiple repeated updates there. Whereas big data represents events data. For instance, we talk about purchase in a store or a web page view. And the event data by nature itself does not change. So there is no need for multiple write statements there, but instead you read multiple times. Because data is being collected from several heterogeneous sources, data integration is a difficult task when it comes to the big data side of it. This is the reason you have so many ETL tools doing the rounds in the market. Whereas with traditional data, you don't need any such tools. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching.